Rich Garvey, welcome, Rich Garvey, to Back to the City. It's really lovely to have you back. One of the last Back to the City interviews that I conducted before leaving Minneapolis was with you, and it was before one of the final Back to the City showcases pre-pandemic at Mortimer's. I just listened back to our previous interview. It's one of my favorites, actually. And whereas normally in Back to the City interviews, we end up getting very immersed in lots of details of specific songs. And I think we'll probably do that a little bit with this one, actually, with the two EPs that you've since released. Last time, we were focusing very much on issues beyond the music that are, I think, so important. Respect. We kept on talking about respect, love, the different types of love beyond romantic love, the importance as a creative of establishing clarity about the framework and the foundation that one's working from. You were referencing Jay Prince's The Art of Respect as a book that had influenced you. You made a reference to meditating a bunch more, learning gear, and getting hands on keys. You were talking about that in relation to cultivating deeper self-knowledge. So I thought we could use that as a starting point today, that reference to learning new gear, getting your hands on the keys. How did that kind of play out, both in the set that you played at Mortimer's, and then beyond that in the two EPs, Palm Butter and Eucalyptus Trip, both of which...
I love the way you say palm butter. It's hilarious. I love it.
Be sure to say it lots. I'll be sure to say it lots.
Yes.
Which is an SP404 beat tape.
Yes,
Yeah?
SP404.
The gear is crucial.
This is my SP404. So
And
palm butter was made entirely on this bad boy right here. That's my gear of choice, and this is what I used to perform with. Like I feel like I had just become more proficient with it and recording with it and making things from scratch, you know. And if you accidentally delete something, there's no going back, you know. So you got to be very intentional about what you make, and you know, you really get accustomed to your machine, and you kind of work on your groove as an artist and how you approach music. It helps you develop a workflow.
I love how both of these EPs are drawing attention to the gear, the SP404 as we just saw, and then also then with Eucalyptus Trip, that is a koala beat tape. In what sense is that a koala beat tape?
So Koala is this app right here.
Yep.
It's made by a company called Elf Audio.
Yep.
Shout out to my man Merrick Bariza. He's the creator of the app. And on the iOS it's $4. On the Android it's $5. But with this app, it simulates what's on the SP, but you get more destructive editing or non-destructive editing. So like those things that I learned on the SP, I can just translate it to this, and it's hands-on. You know, it's touchscreen. You're touching the app, and it's actually an app that I've been teaching in my job. I'm a librarian, so I've been teaching this to youth. The pandemic obviously messed it up a little bit, but Merrick was kind enough to give me a bunch of licenses. So I was able to give some kids licenses so they could learn and follow along with me.
When you put out Palm Butter, I'm saying Palm Butter again, you declared, I made this to honor both my Liberian and hip hop culture. What was the process that you went through to as you endeavored to honor both of those things?
I feel like the producers who really set the standard for me, they're all crate diggers, you know? And I feel like throughout my career, every now and then I dabbled, you know? But I had a friend of mine, a mentor of mine, he gave me like 400 records. His name is Cozy. Shout out my guy Cozy One. But he gave me like 400 records I actually end up giving away some of them to producers that I messed with. Like, yo, pick what records you want, blah blah blah. In retrospect, I kind of regret that now, but that's okay though. But yeah, so I went through my record collection, and for Palm Butter, a good majority of the beats on there were from my record collection. I would say probably about 80% of the beats were straight from vinyl. I
Yep.
ripped them straight from vinyl into the SP, and I went through the whole process making these beats in the SP, and it was just a great learning experience, you know. And I feel like that's what hip hop is about. Like, all my favorite producers, they all mastered a sampler or a drum machine. The DJ Premier, the Large Professors, the, you know what I'm saying, Ninth Wonders, the Alchemists, all those guys, they've all studied their craft, you know. So I felt like I needed to humble myself and do that. And then two, all the tracks were inspired by different Liberian food, different dishes. So
Yeah.
palm butter is a Liberian soup, you know, made from the palm nut, from the palm tree, you know. That's the thing about
Yep.
Liberian people. We're very modest. We make the best out of them. Um, so yeah, palm butter is one of the major soups. And in my tribe, my tribe is gribble, and that's that we eat is palm butter. You can eat it with fufu, which is like a starchy dough made from the cassava or the yuca,
Hmm.
you know, or you can eat it with rice. You know, usually there's all kind of meat that could be in there. There could be oxtails, there could be chicken, there could be shrimp, there could be you know what I'm saying, the snapper. You know, like
Yeah.
Liberians, we don't hold back on the meat. You know, for real. But it's gonna be very flavorful. You know, yeah, and all the different tracks are all named after different Liberian dishes. You
Hmm.
know, so
Fufu and soup, for
right,
example.
you know,
Just
right.
reckon.
So fufu and soup is like a staple. It's a starchy, doughy uh, ball. You know, you make it by, you have the yuca or the cassava. You dry it, and then and then you kind of mash it up. Actually, no, you boil it and then you mash it up for the fufu. I'm thinking about. There's another one that we have called acheque.
Yep.
Acheque it's a French African word. You know, it's when they take the cassava and they make it like a farina. So they dry it and they kind of grind it up.
Mhm.
But so when you cook it, you just put a little bit of water, and you can season it how you want. You can put a little bit of butter. You can put some salt, pepper. Usually we serve that with like fried fish and like a pepper sauce, you know. So I didn't put a chicken and fish on there. I should put that for the next palm butter tape, you know. But yeah, there's a lot of different things. These are things, food that I grew up um, this food that I grew up eating. So I wanted the projects and the music to be flavorful to match that, you know.
Mm.
And then I threw in there a lady from that has a cooking show.
Yeah, I love that
And she's
bit.
like, I can put my palm butter, and you can hear the way that she speaks. She has an accent. They call that colloqua. You know what
Mm.
I'm saying? That's the way that Liberians speak. They call it. So if I were to talk to you, be like, hey, my man, how you doing? Or, you know, that's the colloqua, the Liberian colloqua. We got a real funny way of talking. You know, it's very humorous because we're very funny. We like to have fun.
I have a funny way of talking too.
Yeah.
And I love I'm about to quote her, actually. I'm about to quote this, the lady who is putting that dish together, given the cooking instructions. She says to use whatever you have at home, or whatever you can find in the local store. Says to wash it and to put it in the pot for 30 to 45 minutes. On Bandcamp, it describes it as an instrumental hip hop album that showcases a few of my favorite Liberian delicacies. Come to my kitchen and taste some of this flavor. So it works.
Yeah.
It works really well in that respect, because there are the different flavors coming together in the beats, and then of course it's an analogy with the flavors coming together in that cooking style. But is there a significance to what she's saying, to
Yes.
the fact that she's emphasizing you can use whatever you have in the house or in the local store? What is the significance of specifically what she's saying there?
What I'll be using in my palm butter today, like I said, you can use whatever you have at home or whatever you can buy or find in your local store. I'll go ahead and wash them up, put it in the pot and cook them for like 30 to 45 minutes. And then once it's like cooked, I will go ahead and put my palm butter on.
I see why you got a PhD. No, but yeah, for sure. This is the important thing about us Liberians. Like I said, we're very humble people. We don't have a lot of money, but the number one thing that we make sure, we make sure that we eat good, because you can be the most. There's some guys who are extremely wealthy and they can't get a good home cooked meal.
Right.
So as Liberian people, that's one thing that we put emphasis on is, we don't have a lot, but whatever we got, we're gonna put it together and we're gonna make it flavorful. So when she's saying use whatever you got, I'm thinking about whatever elements that I have with these beats, whatever the vinyl records. I got my SP, I got my, what I'm saying, my turntables, I got my speakers. Those are my elements. That's what I have. If I had a koala, this is a little iPad. That's what I got. But I'm gonna make some flavor with this. I'm gonna cook up something with this. Is that having that same mindset of you don't need to have everything in order to make something that is good, something that's enjoyable, something that's flavorful. You can use some of the elements, like, because I hear on the internet a lot of these producers say, oh, you need to have Pro Tools, or you need to have Ableton, or you need to have this. And I know people that are using Sony Acid and that are winning Grammy Awards. And that's a program that you can find in Best Buy for $20, but it's about the person who's cooking the meal, preparing the meal, So when she says that, and she was actually saying that, well, she was showing you what meat in the video she was using. She had like oxtail, she had some fish, she had some chicken, but she used whatever you have, because that's our mindset. Our mindset, if you can't afford it, we're gonna make do with what we got, and we're gonna make the best out of it. It falls into my music too, and that having that mindset of I don't need to have the best equipment in order to make great art.
The food will be enjoyable, but also crucially, it will be nourishing. It will be good for you. This food will be good for you and nourishing, and I feel like that is another key part of the analogy. You're very conscious and intentional and conscientious about what you're putting out there, like in terms of your energy in general as a person, but then also through the music, of course, is a major part of that.
Yeah, it is definitely a spiritual element of it for sure, because I want you to feel that. It's different when you go to a restaurant, and it's different when you get a home cooked meal. It's just a different vibe, and there is a spirituality to that. There is a calming effect of that. There is a warmth, what I'm saying, that comes to that. And that's what I want people to feel when they hear my music. I want them to understand that I'm coming from a real place, and that I'm not creating a facade. I'm not creating an image. This is really how I feel. And I hope that I'm able to leave you with some kind of emotion to understand that the joy and the passion that I put into this, I hope you can feel that when you hear the music, Yeah.
Something else that really strikes me as important about this analogy is that it's not been the case in US culture or UK culture, really, that there isn't sufficient focus on on nutrition from a holistic health perspective. How significant for one's well-being eating right is, and I feel like it's just such an apt metaphor, that your extended metaphor that you have throughout that EP, because you are thinking holistically about well-being, and so it makes complete sense both to honor the Liberian culture, but also to recognize something that is very right there that is missing in other cultures. From a holistic perspective, what are the ingredients of well-being? Eating well, and what do we metaphorically eat? How nutritional is the music?
That is a great question, how nutritional is the music? Because yeah, we do feed ourselves with these ideas and these concepts, and like I see it in my community. Like, for example, in the Black community, there's like a small segment of Black women in the dating atmosphere that think that they live the lives of some of these prominent celeb women, you know, like a Cardi B, like a Meg Thee Stallion, like a City Girls. And that's how powerful music is, that people can
Yeah.
literally decide their way of living off of lyrics, you know?
Yeah.
It's a powerful thing. Yeah.
Hey yo,
You said take a trip, and the most recent music that you've gifted to the world is Eucalyptus Trip.
Yeah.
Which is,
I love it.
Yeah.
The transition is so smooth. I love it.
And I love Eucalyptus Trip. So whereas with, I'll say it one last time, palm butter, whereas with palm butter, we have the cooking metaphor.
Yep.
Here we have the trip metaphor. So it's really, there is a depth, there's a significance to this seg from take a trip to Eucalyptus Trip. And we are taken to Australia with the soundbite, with the sample, the long audio in this record.
With the professor, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and he's, I mean, I presume that he is Australian, but you know, the English accent and the Australian accent, you know, have some.
They kind of do, yeah. Sometimes much, yeah.
And I'm a professor, so I will, in my professorial manner, quote what this professor says, because I think again it's significant. There's a couple of things about what the professor says that really strike me. You said about the sponge, even though he's a professor, you can hear in his voice how excited and enthusiastic he is about that which he's encountering, the koala. He's about to see a koala.
in a minute I'm going to see a koala, and I'm really excited because koalas eat eucalyptus, and eucalyptus has been really important in the development of Australian chemistry.
The professor even has this curiosity, and of course it's another culture, Australia. We're away from the city, you know, we're in the habitat of the koala. There's all kinds of features that seem significant in kind of creating the vibe of this record. So what the professor says is, in a minute, I'm going to see a koala. And I'm really excited because koalas eat eucalyptus. And eucalyptus has been really important in the development of Australian chemistry. So what's going on here with this kind of extended metaphor, with the features I was highlighting before and now Australian chemistry as well?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, see, yeah, because I mean, I guess the way that the koala eats the eucalyptus, it releases some kind of chemicals or whatever. This is an experiment, you know. Utilizing what I know as a producer and taking that and putting my knowledge, my workflow that I got from the SP into this machine and making it something as natural as far as like and it's what's funny is I've connected with a lot of producers from Australia recently too. Which makes it awesome. Shout out my man Strong Maurice. Shout out my boy Lazy Smooth. Yeah, he's an MC from he's from Australia, and my guy Strong Maurice is a producer from Australia as well. So yeah, I've definitely been connecting with those guys, and they're always up. They're up at like 3 a.m. When I'm sleeping, they're up like posting. They're like, I hate being in Australia, man. I'm always up when nobody else is up, you know? So I always think that's funny. But nah, it was an experiment. You know, I've never thought I would make a instrumental project off of a tablet. You know, I never thought something like that would happen. And it's been great for me simply because it has been experimentation. I've changed my workflow. I've tried different things, and all it does is just reinforce my creativity. You know, it just reinforces the desire to want to create more, to learn more, to add more. You know, like honestly, I could produce a whole album off of this, and you know, I don't think anybody would know if I didn't say I made it on Koala, because you know, it works so well with certain things now. Like, I mean, there's so much support for it now that it's ridiculous. There's like a whole Koala community now, you know, and I've connected with these people. I'm talking about like at least 200 producers that specifically use this from all over the world. I'm talking about from New York, from LA, from Texas, from Australia, from Italy, from Sweden, from Canada, from you know what I mean, Nova Scotia, from Switzerland, from, I mean, everywhere, from Russia, from Ghana, you know what I'm saying? I got a, you know, like all of them using this app. And that's what's beautiful about music, is when it brings people together like that. I've got a chance to meet some of my favorite producers because of this app. You know, somebody who I really admire, this cat named DiBiase and another cat named Obliv, who are producers I admire to the maximum. And they started messing with me and started hitting me up. They added me to a group chat. I did a beat battle with DiBiase that he curated. And like, I've networked so crazy because of this app. So it's definitely has been a hell of a scientific discovery for me, because like it's reinvigorated my creativity. It's allowed me to connect with people, and you know, I just feel like it was just a blessing, man. This app is really a blessing. $4 changed my life to that level. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you said Bandcamp, it's a blessing in allowing you to create anywhere. But you've also just been expanding on all of these other ways in which it's turned out to be a blessing. And I can hear in your voice like the same type of excitement as you've just made the analogy too, that the professor is experiencing as when he's about to encounter the literal koala. I love that you, whereas somebody might say use an app and then not, and one person might use the app and kind of hide the fact that they're using the app to create it. Someone else might just use it and not think much of it and not really draw attention to it. But you are going so far as to, you know, highlight in the name of the EP that it's a koala beat tape, and then have the, you know, koala theme on, you know, there's a koala on the cover of the record. Is there a significance to the koala imagery beyond the app?
Just like a koala just loves eucalyptus, I love them beats. You know, so I am the koala. You know, I've become a koala. And honestly, there's a community. We are the koala gang. It does exist. If you use the hashtag koala gang on Twitter, a bunch of people will retweet you and like, yeah, my guy, you know, because koala is just, it's just great, man. I think most of us that use all these different programs and all these apps to create, we have these mental blocks. With this app, it just allows you to just create. You don't have to think about it, you know? It becomes like an appendage, you know, like you just keep going, and then next thing you know, 10 minutes later you're making something and you're like, wow, okay. And then you can take that, I can record that into my SP and make something completely different, you know? It's just good for people like me who make beats a lot and who might have a mental block. I feel like when you know all these things, sometimes you just get lost in the sauce. Your mind, you're unable to focus on one thing. But when you have the koala, it's like, okay, I know how I'm gonna work with this thing, but I can also experiment too. I can also do things what I wouldn't normally. Like, for example, I can take my voice and I can say, like that, and I can turn it into a sub bass. There's a filter that will turn that into a sub bass, and then you can play that on different keys, you know, and make a bass line from that, you know. Just little things like that. It's just like, you don't have to think about it. You can just keep going, you know. You can just keep going, and you can record from YouTube. You can import from Google Drive or Dropbox any sound or any element you want, you know. It just makes it really, really quick. Every time I see these other producers, they're trying different things. Like some of these guys play instruments, so they're recording bass into Koala. Some guys are adding lasers and sound effects. Some guys are combining other gear with it, and it just keeps me going, man, mentally. And I gotta try that. I gotta try that. I gotta try that. My mind has never gotten bored, and I've always learned and discovered new things and new ways to use this $4 app.
Yeah.
So like I think that complacency and getting stuck, is a problem for me. But when it comes to Koala, I'm never stuck. Never stuck. There's never a bad time. There's never. It's like a woman that's pretty with good personality and everything and intelligent, but she's just not high maintenance, She's okay with you taking her to Taco John's. But she can talk to you about philosophy, politics, war. She can talk to you about love and everything,
He's okay with going to Taco John's, but would probably prefer.
Right, I'm smitten.
You to, he'd probably prefer you to cook up some fufu and soup.
Yes, definitely. That would be awesome. I would definitely cook some fufu and soup for sure. Yeah. But yeah, I just love the fact that this Koala thing it represents the community. It represents like an actual group of people that I've connected with and that keep inspiring me, and vice versa. It's a cipher. It's truly a cipher. That's what I love about Koala. So why wouldn't I credit that? I gotta let them know it's a Koala beat tape, because I want as many people as possible to use this app. Because the guy who made it, Merrick, he's a great man, and he me and him share a lot of our philosophy on creativity and art. In his mind, he would want this app to be free for everybody, but he got to make money, and he has to pay these people a percentage, so it's like he has to charge something, but he really blessed us with this app, man, and he's easy to reach, he's easy to talk to, and we have regular communication, so like, why wouldn't I not promote Koala? There's I mean, for $4, it's giving me probably $4,000 at least, what I'm saying? Like just from sales and connections, and probably more than that, probably $400,000, because these are people who I would never be able to talk to in real life, but like, because of the love of the music, and because of the fact that I'm making something that they vibe with, that connected us,
Absolutely. I love that. So Elf Audio is the
Elf Audio.
Yeah. So if people want to access the app, they can get it through Elf Audio, the Koala Sampler app.
Koala Sampler. You can go in your Apple Store, or your Android Market or Google Play Store. Yep, it's $5 on Android, just because they charge more, and then it's in the Apple Store it's $4. And he's constantly updating it. And the thing that's great about it is, if you have a concern or a question or a feature you want to add, you can literally just hit him up and he'll say, okay, all right, I'll look over it and I'll get back to you about it. And usually he'll create an update for it. I mean, it's a constant thing. It's good for kids, man. I think it's a game changer for children, because, they just touch things, it's just like playing, instead of playing leapfrog, why don't you play Koala? It's like a game where if you teach them some of the rules and how to do it, they can create stuff. And I think that it can really mold a new generation of new producers. Yeah. That's ultimately his goal, and that's something that I always think about as far as my knowledge.
I'm really excited about it. I'm so excited to. And
I might have to get you Koala now. For real. Maybe you make a beat that'll end up being the Back to the City intro music. Who knows?
I don't know if you remember, last time we were talking about our possible Pillow Talk collaboration. Do you remember that?
Oh! Yeah.
Create it on koala.
Yeah, that probably was referencing how Curtis Mayfield talks, because he does have that.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
where that
Yeah.
came from. That was the
Yeah.
scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Believe that.